and hold it with your
sticky.
Finger.
I'm stuck to it.
Yeah. See, everything's given away now. Tanner's thinking, oh gosh, what are they on, right?
Oh no.
Right? And then take your fingers away once it's warmed up. It's easier to do today than it was the other day.
Oh,
right?
They're stained.
It's the only tree. It's the only tree that you'll learn where you can do that. So that if you remember nothing else about identifying this tree, just remember that. Well, and it's got the biggest terminal buds you're going to study in this course.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. So really, all you do, Aesculus, hippocastanum, bang.
So we don't look at Horsechestnut.
Well, this is Baumannii.
How do you
Right?
spell
So it's
that?
close.
Yeah.
That's so cut off.
Now, I don't have a number on this one, but I'm just going to talk about it because it's easy to remember. Aesculus hippocastanum, the horse chestnut, is not really a chestnut. The chestnuts that you eat are castanea. And there used to be Castanea dentata, which was the sweet chestnut, the American sweet chestnut, which was a major forestry tree when the pioneers arrived here. And it was a very valuable lumber tree. They made ship's masts out of it, so that gave you an idea of the size. An average ship mast at that time would probably be 80 feet. So that's quite a chunk of wood that would have to be straight. So it's not related to that. This is the horse chestnut, and it produces a large brown nut, usually 2 of them, in a green colored capsule that's covered in spikes. When I grew up in England, we used to play a game with them called Conkers. We would bake them and pickle them and put them on boot strings, and it was kind of a violent British schoolyard game. You'd come up with cut knuckles and occasionally a broken finger. They eventually banned it in England, schoolyards. It's a European tree. It's got a big palmate leaf, but it's also got a big flower. And so this flower will come up to here, and you can tell, big bud like that. That's the flower bud. That's the leaf bud. Right?
Oh.
Leaf bud, leaf bud, leaf buds. Oh, that might be a small flower. Leaf buds, flower bud. So a big bud like that means it's going to have a huge flower, and it's got a beautiful flower that are held up above the foliage. You can see these are pointing up, so the leaves are going to come out here. So it's stunning when it's in flower. We've planted Baumannii here, and Baumannii is a double-flowered, sterile cultivar, so it won't produce fruit. And we've done that for a reason, because I've had some experience with this tree that was planted back in the 30s at the Niagara Park School where I went to school. It flowered 20 years later, and then they realized it wasn't sterile, so we had all these chestnuts all over the driveway, and as a student we had to scrape them up, and we would take the tractor and scrape the roadway and load dump trailers of the nuts. So we planted these in lieu of the failing Norway maples here that are full of verticillium wilt, and this road wasn't here when these trees were put in. Well, it was, but it wasn't as wide. And so they widened it, and they've impacted the root zone of the Norway maples, which is not a bad thing. So they're eventually all going to die. So what we did when we landscaped the residence building with the students is I put another row down here. So when those die, we've got a replacement row. There is one big disadvantage to the tree. It's got a beautiful pyramidal shape. The disadvantage is it has a disease called... Nope. Anthracnose. And anthracnose is a leaf blotch disease. So in about August, the leaves will have brown splotches on them. And the tree doesn't have fall color, so it looks ugly. It never affects the health of the tree, because the disease comes so late. It might cause premature drop of the tree, but the tree is very vigorous, so I've never seen it be a problem other than as a cosmetic issue. If you see the old English landscape scenes, paintings, etc., or if you go to some of the big old manor houses in England, and you see these trees out in the field by them, solitary trees, and they're broadly pyramidal, and you see sheep and cattle grazing under them, it's probably the chestnut tree. Beautiful, beautiful trees, but they have a few problems here, and it's mainly due to our humid summers that they get that anthracnose.